always say, you cannot expect a Honda to move like a Ferrari.
People always want everything to happen as fast as possible.
I'm sorry to break it to you, that's just not the reality.
Saying like, I'm working so hard, man, but I don't get better. Yeah, because you may be overworking.
Welcome back to the AOP podcast. My name is Art Salazar. I'm the CEO of AOP.
My name is Frederick Arias. I'm the pitching performance coordinator of AOP.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button, like, comment anything that you guys are going to feel about this video. Today we're going to be talking about unrealistic expectations in pitching and the pitching performance world. So what do we got?
Just in case of somebody that is listening to this podcast, just make sure that we're not gonna attack somebody
Yes.
or trying to like hurt anybody's feeling. We're just like gonna talk about the reality and a bunch of things that actually happens in the development process of young athletes and all that.
Yes.
That's
This is
it.
not an attack to you. This is just straight up the facts, the reality of what this is, and that's it. This is not an attack. So a disclaimer once again. Okay, and lock the fuck in. All right.
Yeah.
So where we want to start is the process of what development really is at, what do we want to start at, 14 years old?
Even younger than that.
12.
I would say 12.
I mean, the major
Yeah, 12.
ages. So let's start with 12 years old. A lot of the times you can attest to this, we'll get kids that come in and we have some very elite 11 and 12-year-olds that are unicorns, is
Yeah.
what we can call them. These kids that are just very ahead of everybody else. And obviously people are going to come in and what do they want? They want to be like that kid.
Yeah, they
And
want to
so-
be like that kid.
We get 12-year-olds that come in and they're throwing 50 to 55 miles an hour and their bodies are underdeveloped and it's just a lot of like,
I think like the first thing that people need to understand in that aspect that unicorns are unicorns
yes,
and they got born like that.
yes,
All right. So yeah, you want your kid to be trained to get better and to catch up some kind of a high level of their media, but you never want to like compare your kid or your son, whatever, to one of those unicorn. Yeah, that is pretty much like the pinnacle, what you want to hit, like what you want to see and get, but you don't want to do that because you're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna be asking so much question about the process. You're gonna be always like thinking that the process is not going in the right way, but it's not the reality. Just your kid or your son is just another kid. He's trying to catch up the media or be above the average of athlete at that age, but it doesn't mean that he's gonna be a unicorn. Yes, there's a lot of cases that with the proper training you can find out that your kid could be a unicorn, but that is different. Those cases happen like 10% of the time.
yeah. And like the thing is, obviously we're promoting that with training you can progress and become more elite.
Yeah.
Elite isn't the word, but more advanced from where you start.
Yeah, at least
But-
catch up the media.
The reality, like, you touched on, is that if a kid is here and when we grade in a scale of development an F, you're not going to become an A because you've been here 3 months and you paid for premium training, whether it's here or any other place. The reality is you need to go through a full development process and, like you said, go into it with no comparisons in mind. And I wouldn't even say not having any expectations, but understanding that there's a process that needs to be followed. So going back, let's take a step back. If you're throwing 50 miles an hour, the reality of you reaching that kid that you're trying to compare your son to or you're comparing yourself to in 12 months is basically zero. The reality of that happening is basically zero. And if you hear that and that affects the way you feel or your thought process, then maybe this does apply to you. But once again, this isn't an attack. It's just the reality of this is the approach that we now need to take instead. Okay, I see this kid, my son's his age, they're the same height, the same weight. Why is my son throwing 50 and that kid's throwing 72 miles an hour? Like you said, we have unicorns. We have kids that have been in a legitimate training environment since what, 7, 8, 9 years old, which sounds crazy, but it's the reality. And their bodies are already fully adapted and 3 years ahead, basically, or however many years ahead of your child. And it could be a mix of genetics, it could be a mix of
like
environment.
most of the time it's just genetics. Like me and you, you're taller than me.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're meant to throw harder than me. Because my shoulder anatomy, my hips anatomy can be more built to throw, and maybe your body is more built to run. That is a different case. There's so many factors that people don't take in account when it comes to, measure talent in
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
And like I say, unicorns gonna be unicorns. Even those cases, you don't need to get picky or crazy with the training methods that you're gonna develop themselves, because their body, their genetics is meant to play that sport,
Yeah.
to do that task, to throw harder, to throw strike, to spin the ball in this direction or another direction. It's like how many guys can throw the same changeup as Devin Williams? Just him.
Yeah.
Because he got the unicorn ability to pronate the baseball like he supinated the baseball. That
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
But he is a unicorn.
Yeah.
How many guys you gonna train to do that?
Yeah.
Maybe once out of that
And to
thousands.
let me cut you off there. Something that I love telling parents when I speak to them and when they reach out about like, okay, I want to train, or tell us about what you do, and comparing X, Y, and Z and just looking at options, is I always say, you cannot expect a Honda to move like a Ferrari. And so what I mean by that is, if I put up a video of Aroldis Chapman or that elite 12-year-old or the elite 14-year-old or the elite college guy or whatever, and say, I'm here, I want to try to become this, let's just try to make myself move like that, it's not going to happen. Even if you do achieve moving like that, what's the outcome going to be? Not that.
Not that.
Because you need to fully build up your body to become like that guy. And then going back to this point, that guy might just be a unicorn. You might never be able to create the same force as that guy. You might never be able to pronate or supinate the baseball. You might never, at that level, you might never be able to create the hip-shoulder separation that was God-given to this athlete. Just because you start moving like that doesn't mean you are going to become that. And looking at a video and saying, oh, well, his mechanics look perfect, well, what does that even mean? And it's like understanding, once again, setting real expectations of, okay, there's a process that needs to be followed. My kid, we're starting at, so let's say 12 years old. My kid is 12 years old. What is my goal? Is my goal just go throw strikes and I can throw 7 different breaking balls and, a changeup, and now I'm happy with that? Or is it, I want to compete to be on varsity as a freshman. I want to stay healthy. I want to be in the upper percentage of, velocity and development as you continue to grow up. Understand what is it that you want? You know what I mean? And like that to me is one of the biggest issues with just expectations, period, in this industry. Is obviously everybody is going to show the outcome of all these guys that improve, right? We have this guy that went from 78 to 96. We have this guy that went from 82 to 91. We have this 12-year-old that went from 58 to 75. And it's like, yes, these are things that happen and everybody gets better in their own way, but you can't try to point that one specific one out and be like, yep, that's going to be mine. That guy is what I want, and if I don't get that, I'm not going to be happy. I mean, how many times have we run into that where?
A lot of times, especially when it comes to time to reach that. People always want everything to happen as fast as possible, but they don't really understand that process and timelines would always depend on cases
Yeah.
and needs and how perfectly or you execute your own process
Yeah.
and everything,
Yeah.
how commitment and how you handle everything that surrounds like the process. Because
Yeah.
people always say, yeah, I just need this.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie.
Yeah.
That once again, I think the first thing that people need to understand, and they gotta be realistic of when they start their process
Yeah.
of development. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm right here
Yeah.
in this group. I'm below average, I'm slightly above the average or something like that. This is who I am. I'm a kid that I below average of my age. I gotta be realistic, okay? And people need to understand that development process, the graphic will never going up, never going up. If it's like that, every kid in the world will be playing in a fucking elite level. But it's not always like that. On this process and in this time, there's gonna be peak that you're gonna get better. Then you're gonna spend some time on the same level. Then a lot of times you're gonna go up, and then maybe the next section, your velocity, let's say, is not gonna be the same that you reach next week. It's gonna be even 1 or 2 miles per hour below, because it's all an adaptation process for your body.
Yes.
And people don't understand this. There's a lot of cases of kids that get like confused and mad and all that because they hit a new PR and then expecting to hit a new PR on and on and on and on and be hitting PRs every week. It doesn't happen like that.
And I'm sorry to break it to you, that's just not the reality. Let me say it again. That is not the reality, that you're going to get better every single time. And yes, I am the first one to tell people your son is going to get better. Speaking specifically about training at AOP, your son is going to get better training here. Our minimum is 3 months, basically. In those 3 months, your son will come in here. He's going to leave or be done with those 3 months here. Now, what you think and what I think and what we say are improvements might be two different things. But at the end of the day, the reality is what the reality is. We are the professionals in this space. Speaking directly about Fred, who has 10 years of professional experience, been in an MLB dugout as a coach. I'm not sure who's more credible than him to tell us what legitimate progress is. But I want to go back to something that you said, another point that's very frustrating to hear, is when people say, and this is across the board, oh, well, I only need this. What does that mean? Only need this. I'll hear a 13-year-old tell me that's not throwing 88 with two breaking balls and a changeup. Oh, well, I only need to work on my front side. What does that even mean? Please enlighten me. I must be
because they're clueless. Like I
clueless.
said,
And
like
again, it's just the reality that, okay, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know. It's, we're not going to act like we know everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody does. But whoever and however you come to that outcome or that opinion or that thought process is very, what would be the word, flawed, incorrect, wrong, straight up. It's just, there isn't just one thing. Right now, currently, as it's a week before the season ends, we're working on Victor's off-season plan, who's in the big leagues, topping 101, leading the MLB in rookie innings, all these accolades. And I'm looking at the paper and I don't only see one thing. So if a big leaguer's not only working on one thing, why would a 10, 11, 12, 9, 13, 14, any age, why do you think you're only going to work on one thing? I can't even process it sometimes. And obviously I'm never going to make someone feel dumb, and that's never my goal or hope with this. I try to educate, but sometimes people just don't want to hear it. And it's like, okay, well, at what point, maybe you guys should just look for someone else. And I've told people that, like, listen, I don't think this is the right fit. Sure, we're running a facility that we need people, and hey, I want as many guys to sign up that want to train here, but we need fits, and like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to give us the opportunity to do our job, then maybe you shouldn't be around, right? And it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that, but to say, oh, well, he only needs to do this, and so we're only going to bring him once every 2 weeks, that's just not, it's not real.
It doesn't work.
It
like
doesn't
that.
work like that. And like, the other side of the conversation is, yes, you have to pay for services. Yes, all these things. If you can't afford it, it's fine. There's no issues. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's going to do what they need to do. Some people will buy this car. Some people will buy that car. Some people will live there. Some people will live there. Some people will, drink this water, that water. It's just, there's nothing wrong with that.
Just life.
But don't convince yourself that I only need this, because words are very powerful. And you start tricking your subconscious into believing what? Oh, well, I just need to play catch and do this, and I'm going to get better.
Yeah, I'm rejecting other training methods, ideas that actually can fix for you, and you're gonna like automatically, mentally reject it, and you're not gonna do what you're supposed to be doing to get better because you feel like it's not what you need.
Yes.
Just because you feel. Like I say, mind is powerful. And yeah, going back to that, I feel like it's easier to simplify everything. I just need one thing, because it's too complicated or it's too hard to face the reality, to admit that there are so many things that you need to work on in order to get better or reach out the level that you want to get. But that's when it becomes like understanding the process. Understanding, okay, I need to get better in these 5 points.
Yes.
Okay. Something that you don't want to do and something that you don't want to see on a development process is, okay, I need to work on these 5 points. But at the same time, I need to focus on point A and maybe point B at the same time. Once I get better in point A and B, then I can go and start working on point C. And once I reach the level that I want in point A, B, and C, then I can go to point D and E.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of cases that people want to go and work on the 5 points at the same time. And
yeah.
how are you going to split your time and your effort to really get better at point
Insanity.
A if you're working on point D
Insanity.
at the same time? That is not real. And people want to do everything like rush because they want to get better so bad. But like I said, they don't understand that everything takes time, takes effort, takes a plan. There's like, if you're climbing a ladder, you're not going to jump and climb 5 steps level of that ladder. You want to go one by one, in order that you don't fucking fall off.
Yes.
That's what a lot of cases you see guys training and saying like, I'm working so hard, man, but I don't get better. Yeah, because you may be overworking. You may be overdoing something.
Yeah.
Because you want to do everything at the same time so bad. You don't understand process, development, that time. You're not patient. You want everything to happen so fast that you fall of yourself like desperate.
Yeah.
You're so desperate that you don't see your process. You don't believe in what you're doing, and you just fucked it up.
I mean, it's just like there's so many examples that you can give of this like reality of what could and can be, and like, yes, there's steps that need to be followed. Yes, there's a plan we can lay out that will need to be adjusted 100 times. There's all of these things, and we can lay it out, and it might not work that way, and we're gonna have to pivot 100 different ways. The biggest thing is what? You just can't give up. You need to look yourself in the mirror and figure out, how bad do you really want this? If you're a parent listening for your son, how bad does your son really want this to start? If you're going to take him to a place, it doesn't mean you got to commit like a big leaguer. It doesn't mean you got to go pay for 20 years of training up front. But understanding, okay, let me put him in an environment where people understand legitimate development, can educate me on it, can educate my son on it, and my son's not going to, hate it and buy into what we're doing. or if you're the athlete listening to this, that there's no such thing as just straight line. To get from there to there in the success or baseball or anything, life, period, you're going to go up, then you're going to go down. Then you're going to go up, then back down, then neutral for a while.
Yeah.
Then up, then down, then up, then down. And that's just the reality. It's just, there's no way around that. There's no way around that. And people, you know, the reason, part of why it's so hard to get to the big leagues once you're even in the minor leagues is for that reason, right? Guys just get stuck. They give up. Outside things that affect their life. They just can't handle it anymore. Obviously, maybe some bad luck involved, some injuries and whatever, but it's a lot of this, you know, and if you're not a top prospect, like we said, a unicorn, back to the beginning of this, you're in that same boat, you know, and it's just...
You just need to understand and just, like, embrace your process. Embrace it. And, you know, when it comes to non-unicorns, what is the more important thing to yourself to understand is everything's gonna be a process, and if I need to put the work on this, I will do whatever it takes until I tried everything that is on my hands to make it happen, and it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Until you as a human, until you as a person can do everything that you had on your hand, every research, every training methods, every effort, every day, like, until the point that you can really see yourself on the mirror and say, yeah, I tried everything. I did everything that I have on my hands to make this thing happens, and it didn't happen, okay, then maybe. But
okay, so how rare is that?
Yeah, that is very rare.
I mean,
because, like,
I can't think of a guy.
Yeah, because
Can you?
Yeah,
one maybe.
maybe one or two.
But you're talking, for you're talking about in the pro world.
Yeah.
So if we can't even rattle off, well, let's start with Fred. 10 years professional experience. No more than 3 or 4,
No,
right?
maybe one.
Okay, great. I've been doing this now 5 years AOP. Well, 4.5, whatever it is, and some change. I can't think of one. There's not one guy where I could legitimately say they did everything perfect. They bought, and perfect is not the right word. They did everything to the best of their abilities in the sense of sleep, eating, recovery, buy-in process, thought process, the effort they put into their training, the environment they were in, all of the type of food they were, everything. 0. Not even one. Not even one. But I'll hear a lot of, oh, well, I tried everything. I tried my hardest. Did you really, though? Like, did you really, though? No. You didn't.
No.
You really, like, there's reasons why there's only one Derek Jeter, why there's only one Michael Jordan, why there's only one Kobe Bryant, why there's only one of the greats.
And people might think that we're talking about unicorns. Like, unicorns doesn't work. They have to work, especially if we're talking about athletes at the highest level, because at some level you might find a clubhouse full of unicorns.
Oh, yeah.
And then what?
The Yankees, the Dodgers.
Yeah, there's like
the Phillies,
basically if
every
you're
big league
playing
team.
at the big league level, you have something that is making you special, for sure. Something that you can do on that team that you can collaborate to that team to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not gonna have you paying that amount of money.
And
There's
so
impossible.
To build on that point, you know, it's because we're not trying to come off like whatever you're thinking isn't possible, or like, you know, if I'm a 12-year-old and I want to throw 94 at 16 years old, we're not saying that it's not possible and that you'll never achieve it, or all the negative about what can come in the way. We're specifically, you know, targeting the conversation of thinking in a certain way that's going to not benefit you reaching that goal. And so I'll never look a kid in the face and tell him you're not going to play in the big leagues. If that's really what you want, go for it. go for it, because there's plenty of guys that are that they worked themselves to get there. They were not born Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, like these, and even Aaron Judge. That's not even a good example. I mean,
just 70%.
yeah, these guys work to get there, and you can become whatever you want. It's the accepting this in every aspect: development, life period, in high school, in college,
Results,
just
everything.
period. And so guys will fall off at each drop off. They get to the top, they're what they think is their highest high. They start doing this, and then guys will start trickling off. And then the guys that last, they keep going, and then they start trickling off again. And it's the guys that are left, then you start it all over in high school, then you start it all over in college, and then you start it all over in pro ball. And at each level, it's the same thing. And it's, I tell everybody, anything is possible. It's the people that are willing to do it that makes it possible, though. And like really being able to acknowledge the legit work it takes to, achieve that possibility of, becoming reality. So thank you guys for watching. Let us know in the comment section below some topics you would like to hear us address. We appreciate the support and for you guys listening still to this point. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.